So, hey, never got to ask.
Mm.
When I reached out to you and went, Susan, are you ready to do a podcast? Uh, and then I shared the link of the previous podcast. What were your thoughts? I never really had a chance to ask you. Do you think it was helpful, useful? I know we got you here finally, so I'm sure it's
Yeah.
positive.
No, the thing is, I was actually surprised that you reached out to me,
Yeah.
and and I was excited, definitely. But once you sent me the link, the first thing that came to mind is James Gordon.
Recently been the victim of a scandal.
But more on, like your version of the James Gordon
Fair enough.
interview, definitely. Remember COVID-19?
Yeah, tell me about that. Tell
Yeah.
me about how Abu Dhabi did it and how you went through that process. Did you have fears in you? How did you feel? Because it was a marathon, right? It's not like a quick onset disaster, unfortunately, that hits and then leaves.
Yeah,
This is more like months and months of a marathon running and trying to prepare for things.
definitely.
How was your experience?
Personally, from my experience, before pre-COVID, we were actually used to, making sure that we always prepare,
Right.
especially in my field and line of work of business continuity. We always, educate our staff. We remind them on a yearly basis that basically we need to always be prepared.
Right.
So basically what happens, like beginning of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
that's when, of course, the announcement of COVID-19, we were basically we all gathered together as like all government entities in Abu Dhabi. So
Right.
every emirate, they actually gathered their old government entities. And we basically taken in the instructions and the directions, and we started implementing it within our organizations to make sure that we communicate to our staff to actually even start providing for them you know, provide for them trainings to work remotely, to start working remotely, but gradually.
Right.
So it was a huge success. A lot of pressure, yes, but this is what we've been all worked hard and prepared for, to be prepared for the crisis itself.
Right.
So then during COVID, it was something new for our organization in general, and especially in the UAE and even globally. Nobody's actually used to being away from work, away from school or college. So that basically, it was a plus to get closer to our families, and at the same time, we get to be educated on technology and how to use them,
Right.
more properly, more effectively. But then, of course, there's always the cons of the crisis itself. It actually made us very stressful. It's basically specifically staying at home a lot and being away from friends, from colleagues. It actually cut off us socializing completely, and it affected the elderly. It affected the children
Yeah.
more than us as adults. But the only thing we could do is just try to comfort them and try to
100%.
make it more easier for them.
The empathy, right?
Definitely.
I knew that NCMA as a structure, be the excellencies here, and the royal protocols, and be the federal level mandates for crisis management.
Yes.
Perhaps it's been pioneering in the region. 2017, 2018, it had a huge peak in terms of compliances for all government institutions.
Yeah.
There is a huge excellence drive towards this, which we'll come to in a minute. How did all that pay off? When 2020 COVID happened, and you had years of mandates and theory and discussions and surveys and compliance checks, etc. How did that come out to be fruitful? Do you think that paid off, or would you be okay even if those weren't there earlier?
Absolutely, it did pay off completely.
What are things that you would like to see that there is an improvement that is being done? I know there is a certain amount of enhancement that is done globally. and COVID has also been a good driver of that. But there could be ways in which we could perhaps make this a little bit more faster. That upskilling talent, or coordinating with communities, or using digital technology, or listening to more voices. What is your perception, perhaps, for the future communities and the people who are joining in resilience to focus on, and the existing experts to work towards? What could be your perspective on this?
Well, my perspective, like it just came to mind, number one is mental health. It is really important, especially when you're working in this line of work, especially in terms of resiliency. It is important to take care of the mental well-being, of ourselves, our families, our colleagues, our fellow colleagues, because again, going back to COVID-19, it has caused a lot of depression, a lot of anxieties, frustration, and it took a while, past 2 to 3 years, even post-COVID, it's important to encourage and motivate these colleagues, the people, the younger generations. It's important to motivate them to express their ideas, towards generating them, through AI, whether through AI or whatnot. you know um you know the next part is passion. I would love to see more people who are passionate about what they do, what they love to do, what they love to create. I mean, all these ideas and creations and innovation, it actually helps our societies even further improve.
100%.
Definitely. I mean, technology will always be there. It'll always be enhanced, but there's always going to be the people behind that. Especially the people behind the emergency response, the people behind, the business continuity, the resilience, and so on, But it's always important to retain those talents.
100%.
Definitely. And how to utilize them, and give them more exposure, to at least to even improve themselves, challenge them. It is very important to be challenged, especially in order to create solutions, and because this is what we actually strive for, and this is what we basically we get a lot of support from our leadership in the UAE and in our organizations and within our families, that we have to do better. We have to do always more and improve better.
100%.
Yeah.
And that stems from the mentorship you have received as well, right?
Yeah.
It's about you paying it forward.
Yes.
Which means there have been kind enough people who have paid forward to you. Tell us a little bit about the mentorship that you received. I know you touched a bit about the person who has been through the 13-year journey.
Yes.
How did you meet your mentor? How did that mentorship shape you to where you are?
Well, basically, I've met my mentor, Dr. Hamid Al Kindi, within my department when I first joined the Environment Agency, and basically he's helped me along the way. He's taught me a lot of great tools.
Right.
And he was the first person to pave the way for me in terms of excellence.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Definitely. As you know, Dr. Ahmed Al Kindi, he basically won, in the first place in the Abu Dhabi Government Excellence Awards in supervisory level.
Yeah.
So basically, he was the first person in my life to actually pave the way for me to even get more involved in terms of excellence. And the importance of these excellence, it helps us to challenge our own selves.
It's an introspection, right?
Definitely. We challenge ourselves through our work, try to basically improve in getting more knowledge. Whether it's applying for a different for another master's degree, or applying for various professional courses, vocational courses. For us, it's important to enhance our knowledge and expertise based on the latest trends.
Yeah.
We can't stick to the old books. You know, these books are bound to change. They are bound to be enhanced or be thrown away. You know, so we basically always have to learn more.
You have told us about your journey from the beginning into where you are and how you're contributing to the next generation. How does your striving, I know in Abu Dhabi there's a strive to be the word excellence, and it's not just a terminology, it is something that is a culture that is built in, and in that culture of excellence, what does it mean? And for our audience across the world, what does this program entail? How much amount of your effort and time in a year goes towards managing these excellence programs? If you don't mind, that'll be great to understand.
Well, basically, like excellence itself, it's not something to wait until to invest in. It's basically it becomes part of your life.
Right.
Actually,
Yeah.
it becomes part of your life, part of your work, part of your your personal life, your work life. You know, it's through that basically your own excellence starts to shine.
Yeah.
So personally from my perspective, excellence is to achieve, to improve, to to guide, to advise, to lead, to leave a positive impact. This is my perspective in terms of excellence. And there are so many programs, excellence programs, like within all our organization, as part of like motivating and encouraging our employees, and of course even as part of motivation, encouraging people in the UAE in general. You have the local excellence awards, you have the international excellence awards, the Middle East excellence awards itself. It's basically celebrating your success.
Yeah.
Basically, life, God works in mysterious ways, and basically, especially with the people that you surround yourself with, a lot of people of great influence. It basically made me a better person.
Right.
And it's even encouraged me to also always reach out to younger generations. And it's important to educate the younger generations. We have a saying in Arabic, العلم أمانة. In education, it's it's important to send out the right information, the right education and knowledge, to the person. So basically, learning over the years, now you have technology, you have access to technology and social media, and at the same time, and it's easy access to knowledge. For me, I love to educate, future generations, and people. At least I can pass down the torch.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if I'm doing that and people are learning, then I've done my job. But that's when I'm 100% satisfied.
You're the torch bearer for generations to generations, isn't it?
Yes.
You're enlightening them. And I know that the culture and the community here is very close knit, right? From being in UAE for a while and knowing the Middle East, it's a close knit family, very welcoming, very encouraging in terms of supporting the communities. How does your profession influence your families and the broader network of people who know you? Do they come and ask you for support? Do they ask for mentorship? Or is it this, they just watch your actions and learn from it? How does it look like?
Well, basically, it's like you said, they do watch, our actions for sure. And because every family member is unique, in their own way. Not everyone's going to be a doctor. Not everyone's going to be a lawyer. So it just depends on the passion. And I always tell people that it's important to be passionate about what you do. So basically, sometimes they would actually approach me to ask for advice, anything related to what I do, or even if it's not even related, I'm happy to be there for sure. Again, being passionate, about your what you study, what you do is very important. If you want to succeed in life, for sure. It's basically it fills your own happiness.
True.
Yeah, for me, growing up, basically, I'm always a self-motivating person. So basically, it's rather than wait for someone to motivate, although I am always motivated, I always remember to remind myself to motivate myself and push myself even harder and further and further. I mean, basically, one of the greatest, influencers, people that I've actually met along the way is my former director, Dr. Ahmed Al Kindi.
Okay.
Yani, mashallah, he guided me,
Mashallah.
along these 13 years, of
Wow.
working in the government entity itself. And that actually encouraged me even to do better, always strive for the best and for myself. But this is what we actually translate even in the United Arab Emirates. We strive for success, and for the best, and to always improve, for ourselves. If I can improve in myself, anybody can succeed, anybody can improve, even future generations. We definitely work hard to make sure that we pass down the message that we want future generations to be better than us, to succeed even in the best of the best.
True.
So that's why you have so many talents, like now they're existing, in schools and colleges. There's so many creativity and innovation. Kids today in the new generation are learning. They're fast learners.
Fast learners,
And
absolutely.
definitely they do have, they are the hope for the future, for sure.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
And the advent of artificial intelligence and LLM into today's generation, does that mean that they learn things faster? Is it going to disrupt the industry? How do you think artificial intelligence is going to impact us and the future resilience professionals?
I believe that artificial intelligence is basically now it's enhancing even further and further, which means now the new generations are learning and they're understanding,
Yeah.
and this helps them to even dive into innovation and creativity. As you know, the COVID-19 was a huge push towards us going full on digital.
Right.
So basically, ever since then, we have not stopped going digital.
Yeah.
And digital, there's the pros and the cons. The pros is that basically it helps us in our work. It helps, future generation in their education, and it helps them to be more creative. The cons, of course, there is still an exposure, towards the chances of cyber attacks and so on. But that can be mitigated. It could be minimized through the current teams, the new generation, continuously enhancing their knowledge and mastering, what they do through AI. I mean, look at for example, we're using social media constantly, and and the future generations, they are creating so many applications, creative applications, and softwares. This actually shows that AI is definitely the future. Just to a lot of people, they have this misconception that artificial intelligence or robots is going to take over the future, and that's not the case. If you think that way, then you will forever have this fear, towards technology, and we have to embrace technology because it's actually helping us improve. For the future. So future generations, mashallah, I've met so many, creative students along the way, and I've seen them in action, and they're definitely, they have definitely a lot of ideas and a lot of projects, and we're definitely looking forward, to seeing more of their initiatives come to life, for sure.
100%. I think AI in certain perspectives, maybe 10 years back, if you have to manage disasters, it was not a given. You needed certain amount of funding, you needed certain amount of resources. People like us in professions were scarce, it was not very popular as a subject. So it was a need-driven field almost. There was a desire to be more secure, more resilient, and so came the professions, so came technology, etc. Uh, and I think there's a tipping point where, with the advent of AI into everyday activities, right, everyday businesses,
Yeah.
I think that need for advanced technology to be trained. Like tomorrow, if you have to buy a software, excuse me, you would have to get trained on how things work, and it's up to you to use and get the best out of it. That dependence, I think, is decreased a lot. AI does not entirely depend on the effectiveness of its outcomes, on your IQ. It has its own intelligence that it comes pre-built with, and that important word which you said, continuous improvement, right?
Yeah.
It keeps continuously improving itself, and that just makes it every disaster-prone areas to be able to learn by default, and to be able to improve by default. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer. I know BCM Next is doing some amount of AI in business continuity capabilities, but I'm sure there's going to be more and more softwares and programs that will move knowledge to the next generation much more effectively as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, inshallah.
Inshallah,
That's what
inshallah,
we
for
need to do.
sure. You know, it's part of, who we are, and it's part of our religion, actually, to continuously learn. يعني it's like الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام said علموا أطفالكم حتى لو كان في الصين. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم Muhammad said that teach your children, educate your children, even if it's going to be in China.
Okay.
So
Wow.
basically, again, it's part of our religion, and of course, when this is instilled, in you while you're growing up, you basically have the curiosity to want to learn, to want to, solve a lot of issues, to basically provide solutions, and that's what we actually do.
To be able to build that from grassroots, right? So
Yes.
the culture of the mentor-mentee relationship
Yes.
has a humongous impact on the communities, I would believe. And maybe through this we can thank Dr. Al-Kindi for being a fantastic mentor to you. And I'm sure he's had fantastic mentorship as well to be able to move it forward. So I think the resilience as a community deserves and needs that compatible mentor-mentee relationship to be encouraged. And if there is a way that excellence culture is driven globally, where Abu Dhabi and UAE's model is being studied upon to replicate across the world in areas where it's not been encouraged yet, I think we need to urge as a community for that to come into place. 100% that it's been working well, it's been thriving and paying forward to the community, and it needs to happen to the rest of the world as well. What is your belief? What does one need as a community to be resilient? Is that money? Is that leadership? Is that luck? Is that religious blessing? What is it? What is your view that a community needs to be resilient?
From my perspective, it's hope.
Excuse me. Yeah.
It's definitely hope, patience, and a lot of support. Even in our religion, like, again, it's important to support, the person, the people, the community. This support, doesn't have to be financially. It doesn't have to be something like concrete. It could be something, like, again, knowledge, information itself, so just passing down the torch and passing down the right information to the people directly, that would give the community a lot to hope, to be able to strive, to survive, and to be able to tackle any type of crisis, they deal with, or he or she deals with, because, like, again, crisis and disasters is not only like, existing, like what we face, through, in nature, in work, even in our social life itself. It is important to actually be that understanding person, to others, be kind to one another, and always be humble.
Oh, so true.
Mm.
And those are all characteristics that bring about the hope more and more, isn't it?
Yes.
To be humble just drives you to be, and enables you and everybody around you to also enhance themselves and their lives around. It's incredible. Uh, what does the future hold for Suzan? For somebody who's done the contributions you've done, and for somebody who's been a facilitator for the future generations, who's been driving excellence as a role model, what does the future hold for you?
Well, I'm hoping to continue to do what I do,
Right.
especially in terms of educating, the community. Now it's part of who I am now. I've been doing it for such a long time, over the last over 15 years, in my career, in my life itself. I would definitely love to, to continue to educate and pass that knowledge, to the next person until I retire, of course.
You got many decades left. So
Definitely, if God willing that I'm still alive on this earth, why not? Why not? I mean, because it's important to, if you have such knowledge, such rich knowledge, it's important to share that knowledge.
Important, yeah.
Because someone who basically could really use this information, can really benefit from this, and it's for me, personally, I would love my future children to be better than me. I would love the future generation to be better than all of us. This is what we hope for the future.
Yeah, that reminds me. Somebody was making this, comparison, a parallel, that the river, when it starts as a stream and it starts from its source, is much slower, much less in volume. But as it flows and flows and flows, it gains speed and gains volume and gains traction. Overcoming challenges, benefiting out of gravity, benefiting out of the environment it flows through, and that's what I compare to the perception you provided about you wanting the next generation to be much better, right? Where you're the stream, you've benefited out of certain streams as well, and the source of the river, and now you want the end component to be much more faster and better than you. And it's natural, but to be the driver of that nature is spectacular. I'm going to jump back into your experience of having seen incidents, disasters, and managing them in different ways. So let's hear a bit about that. You've had a long-standing, potentially a class-leading experience in terms of managing disasters and emergencies and incidents. Give us a little bit of brief about it. What did you learn, and how was your experience managing this?
No, definitely. Basically, mostly from my experience, it's mostly managing crisis more than disasters. And when you think about disasters, can stem from natural disasters, which basically it's not within any of our control. But the only thing we can do is wait until post-disaster in order to even further investigate, to be able to manage, the damages. While as crisis, like part of the Environment Agency, we focus on environmental emergency and responses, especially like in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. There are so many cases, where we basically work very closely together with all the other government entities to be able to manage and to tackle these incidents and emergencies. And of course, it's important to actually to make sure, as an organization, that we are fully prepared, to manage from our end as part of our scope. And it's very important to enhance the capabilities, the resources, especially in terms of knowledge itself. I mean, like now, the different scenarios of incidents and emergencies and crises, it keeps evolving. So we basically have to learn to manage them and tackle them, yeah, as much as we are exposed to more information, the latest trends itself. And it plays a huge part of protecting our heritage in the
Does, yeah,
UAE
yeah.
itself. And we want the best, and especially, for the public and for the future generations.
Absolutely.
Actually worked in Beach Rotana for 2 years. And in 2010, this was during Ramadan, where basically I was working shifts, and I get a call from these are not emergency, sorry, from the security department.
From a physical security, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
That they actually found a gazelle in the waters of the beach.
Right.
I was like, okay, I mean, like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So I decided to go and investigate. And on the way, there was this director of food and beverage who basically was asking me, Suzan, where are you going? I'm actually going to the beach because they found a gazelle on the
Right.
beach.
So
And
you're adding on more people to come and witness this.
yeah, that's the thing. So I said, okay, sure, you can come.
Right.
So by the time we reached to the beach, and that's when they told us, the staff, that they've been the gazelle, the so-called gazelle,
Yeah.
was actually moved towards the security department. And by the time I got there, thank God, it was not a gazelle. It
Okay.
was actually a sheep. So basically, that's when I had
You've heard of wolf in sheep's clothing. This is gazelle in sheep's clothing, isn't it?
definitely. And because it looked more like a ram/sheep.
All right. Okay.
And that's at that time I was working closely with the Environment Agency, the environmental emergency team, and I called them up that day before iftar,
Right.
and I actually told them we actually found a sheep, in our beach waters in Beach Rotana. And the responder actually said, because we were communicating in Arabic, and the responder asked me, like, is this a Eid joke? And I said, no, I promise you. And that's when we basically coordinated together
Right.
to actually have the dead animal removed from the premises. And from there, that evening, actually, like, during iftar, our director of food and beverage actually, like, announced to the guests, like, come feast on the sheep that we fished from the sea. Actually, and we fished it actually today in the afternoon.
Because Rotana is a beach hotel, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. That was actually the joke of the hotel.
I'm sure it has like a huge, what do you say, an extension. It's still being spoken about years after.
Yeah, you could say that.
It's a Ramadan miracle.
Definitely. So post the incident, I got a call from the same person I spoke to,
Right.
and, like, 13 years later, I've been working in the Environment Agency, and I've worked in the environment, health and safety. I've worked in the emergency management, and now I'm actually currently working in the business organizational resilience and business continuity for the past, like, 13 years, and still going, definitely. And along the way, I've actually studied, and I've obtained a master's degree in organizational excellence, and I'm actually currently doing my second master's degree in I believe business management, I believe, currently right now. So basically, the ocean is wide.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
That is
there are many incidents and emergencies I've been exposed to, during my investigation over the years. And basically, like, with these emergencies, it helps you to be more prepared.
And what is it? Maybe I don't know if you had the fortune of somebody telling it to you, but you do represent an influence for diversity
Oh, wow.
and inclusiveness in the industry that you're doing, right? So the future generations, you're planting the seeds for the relatability of it. It's almost like saying no dream is too big, right? You are making that influence to be a leader and a face for it. How does that feel? No pressure, but how does it feel being that person?
Wow, thank you so much. Wow, I didn't know that actually. It actually feels great, and like to be able to reach out to the audience, the younger generations. It's incredible, because growing up, I basically grew up, reading from a lot of books,
Mm-hmm.
and I fell in love with the environment, through the eyes of the late Sheikh Zayed.
Mm-hmm.
Sheikh Zayed, Allah yarhamah, God rest his soul.
Right.
Basically, he was my biggest influence, which got me to fall in love with the environment. So I would actually, you'd find me like in libraries reading a lot
Right.
about the environment in general. And growing up, even graduating from school, going to college, and yes, I did obtain a degree related to environment. I Later in life, I basically thought, because maybe it's not part of my destiny, you
Mm.
know but then I never thought that it would actually bring me back, that I am destined to work in the environment agency, to play a part in terms of protecting the environment itself. So, and for me, I was excited about it, because I've never done an interview like this
Okay.
in my life, and I got really, really pumped up and excited about it, since that day until this morning, actually.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
glad we're able to drive that excitement. I mean, I couldn't have done this alone for sure. I need the community support, and I need, like you said, you need two hands to clap,
Yeah.
uh, and to be able to reflect that is incredible. Uh, is there any words of wisdom or anything that you would like to share to our uh, viewers who are watching this, or following you in your journey? Uh, is there anything that you would like to tell them?
Just be yourselves, be passionate, be kind, be humble. Don't stop believing in yourselves, and motivate yourselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in life, when you feel you get to a point where that you are stuck, or you're sad or anything, just try to move away
Mm-hmm.
from the toxic environment. Surround yourself with positive people, and do what you do best, and don't ever stop. And most importantly, have fun.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
I think that's pretty much what I have. If somebody was to ask me who is Susan, that's probably what I would say. Somebody who's humble enough to acquire mentorship, somebody who's humble enough to pass it on, where you've focused on mental health to be able to keep yourself sane through all of these changes and demands, and you've also been able to do that with a smile, and be excited about it. Maybe that's the hospitality side in you,
Ah.
of the experience that you had, but or perhaps it could be your nature, your fundamental nature in itself. Either ways, I think that's making a huge influence on all of us. So uh, I'm thanking you for those who are watching as well, for being kind and being you, and that's the message for all of you watching as well. Be yourself and be kind to one another, I guess. So thank you so much.
Mhm.
Pleasure talking to you.
Same. Thank you.
Bye.